There you are. A-okay. But I don't hear anything. Should I put audio on? Is that good? Sound and vision. Is that good? Sound and vision. Is that good? Sound and vision. Sound and vision. Sound and vision. Sound and vision. That's not good. Is that sound and vision good without me hearing it? Please switch off audio. I did. Didn't I? Didn't I? Yeah. I switched it off. I switched it off. I switched it off. Oh, maybe here. That one? Is that good for you? I think we're goofing. Hello, hello. Okay, okay. Will you ask me some questions? Or would you like me to just speak? I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to be doing. Please advise me. Where's that chap? Tell us about Nina. My pleasure. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Nina Meyerhoff, and I'm here in very cold Vermont, thinking about all of you all over the world, but realizing we're one big family. I am a person that's advocated for young people for over 40 years. I have 2 masters, a CAGS and a doctorate in education, but really those were just my calling cards. My focus has been to step out of the box and to realize that every human being has something of a gift to offer the world, and that my work with young people is to enable them, to support them, to offer them processes so that they get to realize how important they are to this world and to themselves. So we do a lot of programs that work on inner authenticity. Who am I? What do I want in this world? What can I give? How can I serve? How am I interconnected? Aren't we all interdependent? And those are the processes we do. We have been working in about 70 countries now, and we are UN based, an NGO. Plus, we do a lot of work at very important presentations, such as the World Parliament of Religions or the National Association for Interfaith Actions, etc. So that's the work that I've been doing for over 40 years. And really, it's about believing in the future, having faith that we are one, and knowing that the good is emerging and that we need to support each other in that process. And I think I got another little thing there. Yeah, so maybe I could tell you a little bit about some of our projects right now if you're interested. Our focus is it's a 3-pronged focus. It's reflect, connect, and act, so that nothing is in itself independent and separate. But as you go in, and we do meditation, we do guided visualization, we do all sorts of processes that reflect indigenous teachings, all of the processes which help us go inside of ourselves and really connect to the higher power. And that we understand that the higher power, higher consciousness, God consciousness, male, female, God consciousness, all of that is available to each and every one of ourselves. So we use that process and we help young people find that core within themselves of who they think they really are. And then we give them skills on how do you use your ability to connect with another human being so that it's harmless and well intended and with love and compassion. Because we want all human beings to understand that we really can act as a sharing, caring family somehow. And so we have a lot of different activities. But from that, it's not like in the old days to sit in the cave and meditate and bring down the energies and really hold that process, but really to go out and develop local projects that initiate change and show the world that you really are somebody that cares and can use your life meaningfully. So we help young people develop projects, and some of the projects that we're doing now and one that really stands out to me is a young woman named Princess who's come to stay with me right now. She started One Peaceful Africa. She comes from Nigeria and she's been under the oppression of what Boko Haram is, and knowing that she needs to stand quietly and not make any kind of disturbance there because she doesn't want to create more of a violent atmosphere. Yet, what is it that she could do that could initiate change and inspire young people not to go towards violence, but to go towards nonviolence and beauty and love and compassion and enjoying of life? And so she started One Peaceful Africa. We've done a training already in Ghana. We didn't do it in Nigeria, but some young people from Nigeria came to that training and they took it back into the schools in Nigeria. And we're continuing this process of going out into the countryside, doing different programs, and hopefully at some point we will be able to build a school that will focus on peace skills, similar to what Oprah did, only she did it for leadership, but it's the same thing. Leadership means that you really stand in your truth, that you know who you are, and you want to make a difference. So peace and leadership are pretty much the same things. So, and other projects, we have a young man that went with us to Nepal, and he got so inspired, he went back there a number of times. And I'm getting a little note, so I have to put on glasses. I like our bling. Well, I like bling. Bling is happiness and fun and life and joy. And I don't know, it's just light, crystal light, you know, it's beautiful. And I love beauty. I think if you can love beauty and joy, then, you know, there's a radiance that comes forward and it attracts each other and it allows for good things to happen. So anyway, this young man now is building a cultural center. He's raising funds and he wants to build it outside of Kathmandu. So I think it's wonderful. And we have many other projects going on always all around the world. And even locally, we've taken young refugee students here that have felt sort of mistreated, outcast by the system, and taken them to the UN for the International Day of Peace, and they've been the flag bearers and had Ban Ki-moon come down and give an opening speech. And so all of a sudden it raised their level of self-importance, you know, and the understanding that they too have some kind of role here in the United States. So that's good too. So I'm happy to be here with all of you, and I think it's a wonderful concept to have an open channel like that. And I really have a warm place in my heart for Brother Sean. He just feels like an inspiring human being that has a good view of where he wants to go and how he's holding all of us to bring us together, to collaborate, to enjoy, to find each other and to do good in the world, definitely. No matter which persuasion. Today is Hanukkah and it's a Jewish holiday, but I really don't think of myself so much as, well, I think of myself as Jewish because that's my ethnicity, but I think of myself first as a human being. I'm a human being walking this planet Earth. And all human beings are that too. And we're here together. And it's up to us to find ways to bring us into harmony. So that's very important to me. I had an experience recently, and I sent Brother Sean this tape. My family were Jewish immigrants through the Holocaust, and both sets of their grandparents were gassed, and two were in Auschwitz. Well, maybe many more, and I somehow they were an inspiration to me because what I learned from my parents was, and I think it's an important lesson, that you always have a choice of a behavior to be negative or to be positive, yes? So they had harsh experiences, losing everybody in their family, coming to the country with nothing. But instead of hating, they became humanitarians. And that made an impression on me. And that impression pole vaulted me into a global consciousness and understanding. We are always the oppressed and the oppressor that oppresses others. It's a never-ending cycle, and we have to stop that cycle. So I decided to go back to the place of origin, which is Auschwitz. I wasn't prepared for the intense response that my body had. Every cell of my body had a response as I went through the gas chambers, and I went through all the different areas. And I was with a woman who was a guide that told me every horror she could ever think of. It was just an amazing piece. But as I'm walking, and I'm walking in prayer like we must do when it's a very harsh situation, and I was calling on those souls to transform any negativity that exists from hate to love. And, it was said that when I come out of the gas chambers, there'd be light around me, because some of the souls, whether they were healed or not, and whether they're far away or close, they do. It is a time for love to prevail. It's now, the time is now for love to prevail. So it was a reconfirming for me as a person and an individual. And I want to say I've been in many situations where I've seen wars and devastations, or been in situations where I never forget when I went to Pakistan and I was speaking at a conference that was for women and children and human rights. And the first speaker was wearing the full burqa, and the black thing was going in and out of her mouth. And yet her heart spoke to me. And underneath all that garb was a beautiful woman, who wanted peace in the world. So, let us find those parts of humans and let us appreciate those parts. And I'm someone that's learned not to judge others. And it's very liberating. Sometimes it gets confusing because then you don't see if somebody has malintent. But on the other hand, who needs to see that, I somehow get up and keep going because I'd rather love life than be hurt by life, So that's it. Now, I'm not sure what else I should talk about. Do you have any ideas, Brother Sean? You going to slip me some paper? No. Okay, so then I'll just speak. I've written 2 books, one on conscious education, and really the understanding of that our young people, they can learn all the information they need in school. There's no necessary, just download. Education means to bring out, to draw out, to give opportunity, yes? And so real education is to bring out the individual, to allow that person to be living in their full consciousness. And I believe very, very strongly that once you feel that part of yourself, there's nothing negative that you want to live. You know, when I've watched young people in gangs, etc., and the power they feel from hurting each other, but I've realized that they just felt disenfranchised from the world, and it was because they feel so powerless. But if you get in touch with that inner source, the power is there. You don't need to go out and put power over anybody. You got your own power and you live in your power. So that's all positive. And so that book, Conscious Education, was quite successful. It was translated into several languages, and was used in many schools in Europe, Brazil, and Japan, I believe it was. So then, also recently I've written with someone else a handbook on training, and my goal right now is we have a manual and a handbook, and we have a team of young people, a core team, who we've been training, and we want to help them go out and work with other youth so that there's this ripple effect that goes on, and that they can also find ways of self-sustaining, that it becomes a means for them to do peace work in a way that is business entrepreneurial, because it's so important. We found out that young people, you know, they come to this work and they love it and they want it, and then they have to go and get a job, and they have to do this and they have to do that, and they feel oppressed often by the society. And we want to give them the keys to freedom. The freedom to be who you are, the freedom to do, and the freedom to live enjoyably, and to give of your heart. Give of your heart. Give, give, give. The more you give, the more you receive. It's a very nice flow. It's a good life that way, definitely. So let me see. It's strange to just keep talking. Nobody's here. Well, I'm a good talker, I guess. Is there something what somebody would like to know? Just give me a topic, and I'm happy to move with it. Is there a topic you'd like? The blinks. No. Okay, so I'll just speak a little about what we're doing now. Whoops. Yeah, my computer got dark for a reason. I am forming with the young people a core team, because the youth are the generation of tomorrow, and we all know that that's a very quaint kind of concept to say. But the important part is to stage them in places so that they can begin to receive the ability and the knowledge that they are the ones that are going to continue this life, and that they should no longer imitate what's come before them, but really start to design models of the future. So what would a better education system look like? They've been the consumers. Now start to imagine, if you were a designer of education, what would you educate for? Who would you teach? What would you teach? So, because our systems are not working too well anymore, in case people haven't realized that. And, you know, my relationship to money, and it's hard for young people, but once and I can only use myself as an example, started to truly trust God, life, consciousness, my life, I allowed myself to do what came to me. And as I did it, the money came also. The money, you know, it didn't come always the way I wanted it, and it wasn't always as much as I would have loved to have or whatever. But in the end, if I look back, I've been very well supported by the universe, and I appreciate it, universe. And I say that with deep gratitude, because the universe has shown me where to go, and I've gone there. I definitely have gone there. And I think we all have this opportunity to get in line with our own destinies. It's an interesting process because you have to let go of all the preconceived ideas that we've been taught and just really observe what shows up around you. And as it shows up, like Brother Sean, then you make time for it and you give yourself for it, and you don't know what the product will be, but you trust that this is part of the path to where you're going, and this is the way it happens. And it brings a stillness, a happiness, a goodness, yeah, a very good thing. So I like it very much. Whoops, I see a little green sign. And it says, doing great, Nina. Oh, and I think I got, go for it. So I can go for it. Thank you. Oh, look at, I'm going to take a painting down here. I think this is beautiful. Can you see that? Probably not, huh? Can you see? Well, I was in Romania, and it just was a beautiful painting, huh? And it's the old Christians. I like it. And then look at these two men. See? Here, I met this great, he's head of the Christian Romanian church. I'm trying to, where can I put it? I don't know if you see it. I see me. Oh, maybe that's it. Down, there you go. And he was so wonderful to me, and he inspired me, and he saw who I was. It's so interesting when you meet great ones. They know who you are, and they support you for that, and that inspires you to go along. Here's another wonderful man, Sri Tata, who I met. Look at his blazing eyes. Isn't that beautiful? These are my peers. I don't look at them as they're my teachers or my gods or my masters or anything. Here's my Lama. I have a little house in Italy, and this is Lama Ganshin. You see him? He's so good to me. He's so good to me. He takes care of me when I have questions, when I'm sad, if I'm sick. I don't know if you see him, but that's what I want to show you. I have a Lama, I have a Hindu, I have a priest. I have them all around me, and I feel so grateful and so honored to have people like that in my life, that it's a confirmation that I'm doing something correct, you know, because I was totally, when I was young, not anti-religious, I never thought about it. But when I look back, and maybe when you look back, you too can think of things that were a little different about you. Like they used to call me Little Buddha. Well, why did they call me Little Buddha? You know, strange, huh? Well, Little Buddha, because I would sit and listen and really take in what the elders were saying. And I had an imaginary playmate who I talked to all the time. Now, don't you think that was a spirit friend? I do. That was my spirit friend. And so, yeah, I had many signs that my life would be a spiritual life. I just didn't know what that all meant because I grew up in an environment that didn't, you know, support that. And I want to say, Brother Sean, I was in Assisi, you know, and I had a wonderful time, and we spent real time with, I can't remember his name. He died a number of years ago, the father. But again, I feel like anytime you go to these very sacred spaces, what happens to you is that those energies mix with who you are and integrate into who I'm becoming. So everywhere I've gone, I've taken stones, you know, from that area. I've honored them, and I've felt honored to be able to move along that path. Some people, it's funny because originally I was very ambitious and I wanted to be a lot of things in life, you know, but now I know my ambition was really to travel the world, to become a global citizen, to care about all human life, all life really, and to serve humanity to the best that I am able. And as I age in this process, and I'm like a tree, I'm going to, the leaves are falling. Uh, I've had a miracle life, and the miracle has been because I've just followed the footsteps that life has offered me. So that's what I offer young people too. I'm getting a little blue sign. Tell us about Auschwitz Peace Center. Okay. This is a little dream of mine, and I don't know if it's going to emerge or not. But because what's happened is I end up doing so much work around Children of the Earth and what is needed there that I don't end up putting energy sometimes in the things that really are touching me. But what I want to do, or I'd like to do, is to work with Goy Peace Foundation. They're the ones that do the peace polls all over the world. And also with a group from Berlin that's a big peace center, and set up a center that's for peace that would bring young people from around the world, not to focus on the horrors of Auschwitz, but to focus on the beauty of what could grow, and to know that next door was this horrific extermination, 1.2 million only countable people, and that here they all mixed together can come together to really build a new humanity, a new civilization, and walk into the world with a different kind of thinking. So that is a dream, and often, I've been a builder of dreams, the castles, that's my work, and you do it one stone at a time until something is really manifested itself. And I believe people would give to that fairly easy, because I think it's a very monumental thing. And if it wasn't for Auschwitz, we wouldn't have Israel. And if it wasn't for Auschwitz, we wouldn't have the UN. And Auschwitz is a seeding of most terrible, gruesome, energetically terrible place, and next to it we could have beautiful flowers. Yes. How can governments and religions help? Help who? Governments are made out of people, that they're people that represent us, and so it's up to us to educate new young people who go into government. So I have a lot of young people who have chosen the fields of government and working at the UN now, etc., because I've been around a long time, and they come with a different thinking rather than only their professional growth, and also the whole thing of the nationalism, that in one country over another country, that goes away. So governments, and what else was the other one? I can't really share it. Oh, thank you. So anyway, I believe the structures that we have today are disintegrating, and what we're doing frequently is trying to do a patchwork quilt to form, to keep them strong. I heard the president of Unilever speak. That's a very big corporation, yes? And he was very educated, and he really understood all the global issues. But, like, if the poor get poorer and the rich get richer, nobody is going to buy their product. I mean, they got to get it. And that will even topple the corporation. They got to learn that they are a resource, and that they need to serve the people that are there and not just be greed. The greed concept is dying daily. It just doesn't work anymore. It was very good for a while, and those that were successful in greed, I mean, there's nothing bad. It was this meism that was growing, and I don't want to negate it, because you have to have had to be able to give. You can only give what you have. So it's a time for that giving. So when I spoke with the man from Unilever, about social responsibility, et cetera, he has departments. And I said, it has to happen more for everybody. It's not like you have a department that gives good money away. It's more about the collective. It's about everybody realizing that they're in a unique position working for a big company, that they could really change their mindsets and see themselves as altruistic and still be able to build their corporate structures, really. And the same, the educational system has gotten so constrained, so teachers are overwhelmed, they're overworked, they hardly are able to focus on the individual child, especially in the upper grades. I was director of 10 schools, so I really know the field pretty well. And I must say that they need to open the windows, you know, all that information they can get from computers, you know, that's okay. It's like, it's time for them to really change their style and recognize the individual as who counts in life. So we're going to have new governments. We're going to have new structures. We're going to have new economic systems. We're going to have, you know, it's a happening. I mean, it's not happening fast, but it's a happening, you know. And I think in terms of religion, what I see too, I thought the Dalai Lama is a very good example of the first one to really hold a global arena and bring different religions together. But what they still do interfaith, which means giving each other a turn, and respectfully, of course, and learning from each other. But there will come a time when there will be intra-faith, meaning that we will go inside all the faiths. And I think that if you know the Golden Rule group from Scarborough Missions, they've really touched on it. The Golden Rule applies to every religion, that there will come a time where faiths will understand that they have the capability of finding their union and bringing people together, so, you know, rather than always amassing more and more for their own. That you know, there has to become this weaving to go on. And as we become a global society, that's what's occurring. Another thing that's on my mind right now is, and it's been a dream, is that the internet, you know, it was the global mind. It was the beginning of the global mind. I wrote a book with 2 other people on internet that we were living very far away. And it got so we didn't know whose word was whose. It was a very good experience. But it showed me when you share minds and you're not ego identified, you can really build something together. So I believe that internet needs to go to the next level where it will become the global heart. And once we learn how to have the experience virtually and our ability to experience each other's hearts, we will raise the vibration of what's occurring, and we will make decisions that serve us collectively. And that's something we would love to see, because then you're not just thinking of yourself, you're thinking of what's for the good of humanity. That's it. I don't know. Let's see. I need a little cue. So yeah, maybe I can tell you about our young people. Whoops, I see a little cue here. Doing great. Need to go to. I get little cues to talk to you people. It's so sweet. I was going to tell you about our young people. It's really touched my heart to be able to see these people grow up and take on meaningful positions in the world, that this wasn't just an activity of just getting things done, that they really have altered their lives to make a difference. And there could be no greater gift for someone like myself, who calls myself an educator, to know that that education changes people, and people become people that truly are able to make a difference in the world, and that's all of our responsibility. So I hope and I pray too, that we learn to hold each other's hands, we learn to be supportive, we learn to not judge, and we have deep compassion for each other, deep compassion. And I see so many problems in the world, and what I do is I don't identify with them. I always think about what is the other side of it. Even though I can have compassion for horrible situations and individuals going through lots of pain. Yes, I got a note again. Do you have a base here in the UK? Well, that's interesting. That we have a young woman, Rosie, who just sort of got back in touch with me today. And I can't say she's a base, because what's happened is she went back to school and got her master's in education, and she's going to be teaching foreign students English. So that's a wonderful thing, but she's a wonderful contact for the UK. We have a girl in Belgium, Saskia, who really is our European contact, and her address is saskia@coeworld.org. Our website, by the way, is www.coeworld.org, and you can see a lot of the projects and the people and who's involved and how we're getting involved. There's a World Peace Caravan that's going next year from Petra to Bethlehem by camel, and then there'll be a big conference along the way with notables like Perez and Carter, etc. They haven't firmed these all up, but some of our young people will be on that trip, and maybe I will be too. But these are the things that really make a difference when you get involved in activities like that. So we like that very much. We have a newsletter that comes out almost every other month and tells the stories of young people and what they're doing. And we have a CD that the young people put together, and there's a t-shirt for One Peaceful Africa, and the book, etc., online. That's, yeah. But we're pretty much all over the world. The hard part is we don't have any funding, really. We're always begging. I don't like the word begging, but I'm always reaching out, bringing it in, using it up, finding somewhere else. It's the money thing, it isn't part of our structure. Most people don't give to idealism. They give to programs that deal with a concrete problem, like that you're going to fix something that's broken. And we are going to fix the dream and not what's broken. Does the UN support your group? The UN is an interesting thing. The UN is composed of many nation states. It itself doesn't support anything. The nation state supports it. But we are an NGO, a non-governmental organization, part of their civil society group, and we participate in many of their committee meetings, and we are also involved in the International Day of Peace. And I've been more active in the past than I am right now, but going to New York, we have 2 youth representatives that can attend, and we go and we hear and we input. And I'll say it's very interesting, because the word spiritual, was taboo about 10, 15 years ago. And now it's part of documents. You see it as part of the language. So I would say some of our work is to infiltrate in that sense, to bring things to a more conscious level. I started with a few other people, a spiritual forum there, and that's gone on and taken on a form. and they have a wonderful meditation room there. And yeah, the UN is a potentially wonderful place because it's the only place in the whole world where everybody comes to meet. The world comes to meet, all the nations. What the hard part is that they still are thinking about their own nation role. You know, that they think about, you know, their own country, and most of the ambassadors, I hate to say this, but often are on their professional climb and are not so concerned with the issues and the results as much as their family situation. But that's not true of everybody, because in general, the UN is humanitarian based and does care a lot, you know, more than any place I've seen. So I like working with them. I've done youth programs there. We've done youth programs in UNICEF building on the rights of the child. There's a treaty called the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and I used to teach that to show with every right a human being has, there's a responsibility. And what are those responsibilities? And are you willing to take that responsibility so you have that right? You know, so, and we worked from the documents. But all of that, you know, it's good. The UN is a wonderful place. And recently I've been down in DC, and I went with a small group of people, and we were considering what is the ancient isn't that ancient, but the sacred geometry, the sacred inner knowledge of Washington, the intention of our forefathers. What was that, and how could we basically restore that to what's happening now? Because where we've gone with government is not really where it was intended. You know, that was not the intention of our forefathers, that's for sure. So it's something to think about. Anything else? Whoops. Oh. I got a sweetheart. No, you're amazing. You know, we love you. I like that. That feels good to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I like that very much. Uh, I was trying to think of all the things I've done, you know, like we started the first. I like the bling too. Me too. I love bling. People think I'm a little wacky. I have bling bracelets, bling, bling, bling. I'm happy you like the bling. That makes me happy. Uh, yeah. Uh, we did the first peace center in Ghana. I worked with a woman named Nana Apiedu. It's a very nice story, so I'll tell it. I was in Japan, and there was a conference called Value Change, and there wasn't a single woman on the stage. And this little black lady in the audience stood up, put her hands on her hip, and said, "How can you call this value change when you don't even have a woman on stage?" You know? And I thought, that's a gutsy little woman there, you know? So I got to know her, and I brought her to my programs, and she would speak to the young people. And she was head of the women refugees for West Africa, representing them in the UN. And her husband had died in a peace mission. And his dream always was to have a peace center in West Africa. So I went there, and we brought young people there, and we did about 3-4 years building this training center there. It's not complete because it needs more, but we had a wonderful time, and we went into the school systems, and we did a lot of programs. And the kids, we trained the young people, and the young people went out and trained the others. And so there was this continual effect, and it was a wonderful program. Then we've sat in powwow with the Native Americans for a week, and we've had the chiefs talk to the young people, and the drumming, feeling the drumming inside, going to your ancestors. I took 50 young people to Thailand, and the Buddhist monks taught them to I heard a bell. Does that mean I'm finished? I, I, I don't know. So, anyway, I am so happy to be here with you, and I appreciate all of you. And I think it's great that we can have this conversation. And may we all be blessed. Yes. Okay. One more question. What? You are amazing. Thank you, Nina. Well, thank you. My pleasure, absolute pleasure. I feel honored, privileged, and my heart is warm to be here with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. May we all have a blessed holiday, and may us remember the children everywhere. Always give to the children. They're open, they need you, and they're wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Namaste.